welcome everyone for joining us today. My name is Jolie and I am the Student Recruitment Manager at the College of Legal Practice. So for me, with my colleague Sydney, we oversee the journey of prospective students from their initial interest to applying and enrolling to our program with the college. And I also work with different universities, law societies in supporting their events and fairs, and I also work with different student ambassadors as well. So together with us today, we have Fiona. She is the module leader for the SLS module, the SQE2 preparation at the college, and she's also the supervisor for a number of different modules. So welcome, Fiona.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Thank you. And also we have Georgina here with us. She is the college's SQE2 student, and she is now a qualified solicitor. So welcome, Georgina.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you. So moving on, what I'm going to talk a little bit about what we'll cover today. So first of all, of course, we'll talk a little bit about our college and a very brief introduction again to the SQE qualification route. And then we will have student experience sharing session, and also we'll be showing you the SQE2 preparation course, the demo. And then lastly, we will talk a little bit about the college's SQE prep course. And of course, if there's any questions that anyone have, feel free to put it in the Q&A chat box. So first of all, for those who don't know, we are a fully online postgraduate law school built for online, and we specialize in SQE preparation. Our parent company is the College of Law, and they are the leaders in legal education in Australia. So we have around 25 years of digital learning expertise. And you can see on the screen here about our ethos, and we are all about being accessible and also affordable. Traditionally, the law is known for being a profession with so many barriers. So we wanted to try to do our parts to eliminate that by offering courses at a more affordable price so that it can be more inclusive. We also like to facilitate the access through our personal and also targeted individual support, where students will get access to high level of tutor and personal supervision. And lastly, we wanted to ensure that we provide an inclusive learning environment through our learning and also teaching. So we provide reasonable adjustments for those who need it, giving everyone an opportunity to get the most out of their learning. So on this slides, you will be able to see some examples of universities, law firms, and also organizations that we work with. We are trusted by them, and we deliver our SQE preparation modules as part of our partnership with some of them. And here on the screen, you'll be able to see some positive feedback from some of our partners. So moving forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it to Fiona, and she's going to talk you guys through the SQE route and also some key facts about the SQE2. So over to you, Fiona.
Thank you, Jolie. Thank you. Hi again, everybody. Before I get into just talking in more detail about our SQE2 preparatory course, the Solicitor's Legal Skills course, I'm just going to explain the SQE route to qualification and how the Solicitor's Legal Skills course fits into that. So to put it into context for you. So you'll probably already know that in order to become a solicitor now, you'll need to comply with the regulatory requirements of the Solicitors Regulation Authority. So you'll need a degree. That doesn't have to be a law degree now, but may well be a law degree. You'll then need to have passed SQE1 and SQE2 exams, which are as the national gateway exams run by the SRA. You will need also to meet the SRA's suitability requirements to be a fit and proper person to be a solicitor. And you will also need to have 2 years of qualifying work experience in order to be able to apply for enrolment as a solicitor. So once you have those 4 component parts, you will be eligible to begin the of enrolling as a solicitor. Can we move on to, thank you. Thanks, Jolie. So just some key facts about the SQE2, and then on the next slide, I'll explain how the SLS course prepares you for the SQE2 assessment. So just some key facts. The SQE2 assessment, so it's one assessment, but made up of different stations. And the assessment tests your oral and written legal skills. There are 6 legal skills, and they are tested in the context of 5 practice areas. Those 6 legal skills, just shown on the right hand of the slide here, are advocacy, case and matter analysis, client interviewing and attendance notes, legal analysis, legal drafting, legal research, and legal writing. So those are the 6 skills, and they are tested in the context of these 5 practice areas. On the left-hand side, business, dispute resolution, property, criminal, and wills. And you will need to know the underpinning law in relation in all of those practice areas. The assessment itself, the one assessment, as I said, is made up of these stations. So there are 16 skill assessments called stations. 12 of those are written stations, and 4 are oral stations. And the assessment dates do come round quite frequently, every 3 months. So you do have lots of choice as to when you want to sit the SQE2 assessment. And the fees at the moment for the SQE2 assessment are £2,766. But just a proviso there that they are expected to rise each year. So that's the fee as at the date of this webinar now. So just on to the next slide. So to put our preparatory course then into some kind of context, so the Solicitor's Legal Skills module here at the College of Legal Practice is laser focused on putting you in absolutely the best position towards achieving success in the SQE2 exam. And we do that by providing you with 24 study units throughout the module, which you will study independently, but with very clear direction and instructions at each stage. And I will outline these stages shortly. We do all of your learning and delivery through Canvas, and again I'll give you a demo later as to what that feels like, and that's our learning platform. And as I said, I'll demo these resources as well as the different stages a little bit later. But those 24 study units will cover the 6 legal skills in each practice area. You will also have access, in conjunction with all the independent learning on the SLS, you'll have access to the SQE1 preparatory course legal knowledge resources. So you will have access to all of those. You will have the opportunity for multiple, and it is multiple practices of each legal skill with individual supervisor feedback. You will also have, and this is what will prepare you for the SQE2 assessment, is the SQE2 style assessment. So we encourage you to carry out the assessments timed and a closed book, which is what you will expect in SQE2. So the practices will encourage you to do them timed and closed book. And again, the assessments on the course will be SQE2 style. So they'll prepare you as much as possible for the SQE2 assessment. There are also regular surgeries and town halls, so you'll have access to supervisors and the opportunity to ask questions of both the supervisors and myself. I will take the town halls, and then there will be skill practices with supervisor feedback. So again, you get that written feedback, and there are also feedback sessions where you can ask questions. As well as the access to the SQE1 prep resources, you also have access to the hard copy, as well as an electronic skills guide. So that's outlining what is required in respect of each of the skills. as you get closer to the end of the Solicitors Legal Skills module and closer to SQE2, there will also be an SQE ready review for every student. So we'll have a one-to-one with you, and we'll make sure we'll have that discussion with you about how you feel about whether you're ready for SQE2. And we keep that under review really all the way through the module. You also have access to a personal supervisor, and you will have one-to-one sessions as well as group sessions with a personal supervisor on a pastoral support as well. So just in terms of the course options, you have 3 choices, and I'll go into a little bit more detail a little bit later. But you have 3 options, and there's a 10-week full-time 10-week course. There's 2 part-time courses, a 20-week and a 40-week course, and these are 30 credits you will gain at the end, and these are level 7 credits, and the course fees at the moment are £2,300. And there's just a comment there from one of our SQE2 students, really just saying how the course, the Solicitors Legal Skills course, prepared them for the SQE2, and they just in terms of how similar the feedback submissions are and the assessments are to the actual SQE2 assessments, really does prepare you for what to expect in SQE2. So I'm now just going to hand you on to, as I said, I'll give you a little bit more detail in a few slides time, but I'm just going to hand you back to Jolie on Georgina, and then you'll come back to me in a little while.
Great. Thank you very much, Fiona, for talking a little bit more about the SQE2, the SQE journey, and also the SQE2 module. So before we look at the demo, of course, we have Georgina here with us today, and she has done the SQE2 preparation course with the College of Legal Practice. So today, it's really good to have you here with us today, Georgina, to have you shared your experience in preparing and also passing your SQE2. So welcome, Georgina. Do you mind introducing yourself and give us a very brief overview on your journey before we move on to the Q&A part?
Yeah, thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. As Jodie said, my name's Georgina, and I studied with the college from July 23 until I think it finished in September 23, and I sat the SQE2 exams in the October 23 sitting. I did the 10-week full-time course whilst working full-time still. A little bit about my legal background. I studied my law degree with the Open University, commencing in 2017. And during that, I managed to obtain a legal secretary role within a high street company. A year later, I used that experience and partway through my degree to obtain a paralegal role at Irwin Mitchell, which is still where I am today, and I work in the asbestos-related disease personal injury team. I obtained a training contract with a smaller firm, and therefore I did commence on the LPC, and I studied that part-time, and I received a distinction. I realised that I wanted to continue my career at Irwin Mitchell, so I commenced on the SQE2 straight away, and I passed that in February this year with 84%. I then used that SQE2 with my LPC to gain my SQE1 exemption, and my 2 years experience working at Irwin Mitchell to be admitted to the role of solicitors from the 4th of March. And officially I start a solicitor role with Irwin Mitchell on the 1st of May of this year.
Great, thank you very much, Georgina. It's such a journey, and it's really good to hear that you come from a LPC background and then you passed the SQE2, because like based on my experience, we do receive quite a lot of inquiries from students who have actually done LPC and would really like to do the SQE2, but they have quite a lot of concern. So based on the pre-collected questions that we have from people who registered to the event and events, we do have quite a bit of questions that if you don't mind. So there are a few different groups. So of course, the first group of the questions will be mainly mainly be related to the study tips or your study skills or how you study. So first of all, how did you plan your revision timetable for the SQE2?
Yes, so a revision timetable is very unique to the individual, but how I did this is I created a DIY planner just using Word, and I did a week by week, starting with the first day of the course until the last day of the course, and then I did continue it once the course ended because there was about a month, 3 to 4 weeks between the exams. And I firstly put in all of the key dates, all the deadlines for submissions for the practice assessments that the college set, so you then get feedback. I put all the feedback appointments with the tutors in there, so this way I could plan what I needed to do and submit by what time and when the feedback was, so when I knew I had to review the feedback that was written and devise some questions to ask to expand my knowledge and to ask for further tips to how I could increase my mark really on those practice assessments. So the other thing I did was within the course, you get given builds and self-practices and the practice assessment, and each one of these, they also give you which modules they will relate to within the course materials. And I don't just mean wheels as a whole, but I mean the specific chapter of the wheels or a few of them that will be examined. So I used those modules to know what knowledge I had to learn that week, and I left time for each knowledge so I could gain that knowledge before sitting the build activity or the self-practice and then going into the actual practice assessment. And specifically for the practice assessment, I set about the correct time that you would be given in the SQE to sit that, but I also made sure I sat that at a time that I wouldn't be too tired, so a time that worked well for me, so I would get the most out of it. So that's how I went about planning for it. I basically created a DIY planner which I stuck to, and it was a working process. Every day it would change, but I think it kept me motivated and kept on track to ensure that I submitted all the practice assessments on time, and I never missed one because of that.
Oh, wow, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Georgina. It's really good to hear that you are very organized and then you basically have a planner that work for you, and also incorporating the materials, also the resources from the college, and to basically make a plan that does actually work for you. So that's really good to hear that. And of course, in the beginning, you mentioned that you are actually working full time while you're preparing for the SQE2. So how much study do you actually do a week, and how much time do you actually contribute into it?
Yeah, that is a good question. And again, I guess it's individual to what your personal life and your work life is like. So I was working 4 days a week full time, so I did longer days at work, and I asked my manager to have an extra day off, so I still worked full time, just over 4 days. So I had 3 full days that I could focus on my study. So these days I would spend around 8 hours each day, which included the weekend, unfortunately, to study, and I spent about 2 hours every evening studying as well. So I reckon that was about 35 hours a week. I obviously did the full-time course, so if you did the part-time course, you wouldn't need to do quite so much, but it is a very full-on course and there was a lot to learn, and I knew that I had to get all the study time in, so I ensured I cleared my diary personally and informed family and friends that I was doing this course and that for the next 10 weeks I would be very busy. But I knew it was just a short-term gain for a long-term goal, and I kept that in mind and stayed motivated throughout. So yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. I think I really like the point where like you mentioned, to make sure that you informed your family and friends. I think it's very important to make sure that they know what you're basically preparing for, so that you can get the support from them, and also they can keep you motivated as well. So brilliant. Thank you very much. And of course, you've talked about how you kind of manage your full-time job while you're studying for the SQE2. Do you think your work experience or working while you're preparing for the SQE2 is actually helpful in terms of absorbing or practicing the skills in the SQE2?
I do think it was really useful that I did have some work experience. I don't think it's mandatory, and I don't think you would not pass the SQE without it, but I do think it helped because in my role I do a lot of drafting court documents, and I write letters to clients and write emails to defendants as I work on the claimant side, but vice versa, it's the same concept. And I also go to the client interviews, the client meetings, so where we interview the clients. I don't really do advocacy, so that was quite new, but I definitely review files, which is very similar to analysing the facts. So I feel like I gained a lot of experience from my experience prior to coming in. So I do think it did help, but as I said, I don't think it's mandatory, because if I hadn't had that legal experience before, I think I would have just spent longer reviewing the examples given by the college to really hone into exactly what was required for the skills that I hadn't already learnt. But I did that anyway, because some of the skills, the SRA, sorry, I want it in a specific way, and that's not quite what practice or how I learned it in practice in the law firm, how we do it, because it's obviously an exam, so they have to examine it in some way, which is you're not really examined in day-to-day work.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I think it's quite reassuring from what you said, because now for the new SQE qualification route, it's quite flexible in terms of how or when you do your qualifying work experience. So quite a lot of potential students are quite concerned whether they should do their work experience while preparing for the SQE before or after. So thank you very much for your contribution in this and your advice. So let's talk about the learning materials that you use, or how you learn. So one of the main questions that quite a lot of people ask is about the learning resources. Do you only use the materials that the college provide, or do you make your own notes as well while you learn or build your skills?
Yes, that's a good question. So I mainly use the books provided by the college, or the online resources, I should say, provided by the college. And as I didn't have the knowledge from SQE1, because I came from an LPC background, and those of you who have done the LPC, you'll know it's a little bit different, because how I did it was open book, so you could have the books in your exam with you, and the SQE is not like that. So how I chose to do it was I read through the specific module that was on my planner for that day or that time of the day, and I started with reading through the materials and rewriting it in easier terms on a Word document. So this way it put it into more of a client perspective, because that is a requirement for the SQE exam, is you have to advise clients, so you can't use a legal jargon. So I took the legal jargon from the books and wrote it in my own words that was more simplified. From then I decided to create a poster of all the key facts for each specific chapter of each particular module, and it was this poster that I honed into the memorizing and the bit I took in, because on the poster I put headings and I put bullet points underneath this in different colors so it would stand out, and I put a flashcard on the top with these headings, and then it was these flashcards that I used as like a memory tool. So I read through the heading, and then I would talk out loud what the key facts or the key legal points underneath it was. I then consolidated my learning by using the resources that are provided, like the multiple choice questions and the flashcards on the college website, and I use them to consolidate my learning. I also recorded myself asking questions and then left a gap and then read out an answer. So I could do this when I was driving, because I drive quite a lot to client visits in my job, so I use this as a way to revise whilst driving. So I could, instead of music, just listen to myself asking questions, and then 2 minutes later reading out the answer, so I could learn while driving. And I found all of that a good way to hone the knowledge. And in terms of the skill, I carefully examined how the examples were provided by the college, so I understood what was required from me. The SQE also have posted a few of their examples on the SQE website, which is also useful to use as an additional tool, which is open to all to use, and they were quite useful as well, because the topic was slightly different to what the college had, so you could see an example from a different type of specific question within the bigger module as a whole, because of course there's so many parts that you could be examined on. And another key thing I did is I created scripts and pointers for the skills to be included. So I knew for the case matter analysis, I had to include X, Y, and Z because I'd remembered what the order was, like the introduction, what to include, remember to include the key facts. And the same with the interviewing, I created an opening speech, which really worked for the majority of questions because the starting is going to be the same, and it also helped me consolidate and remember those skills to keep me on track. So the skill points were met as well as the knowledge.
That's brilliant. It's really good to hear that you have your you found your way and successfully prepare for the exam. Of course, for the college we do provide the materials, the resources, but it's always good to hear how you actually utilize those materials. You mentioned that you basically rewrite them in your own words. I guess it's very, very useful in terms of like making yourself easier to absorb those like ideas, and also easier to remember those. And it's also very good to hear that you create your own flashcards and notes and to help you easier remember things. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Georgina. So of course, later on, what we will do is we will invite you back again and to talk a little bit more about some frequently asked questions, and we will have a discussion with Fiona as well. But thank you very much, Georgina, for your sharing now. But what I'm going to do is I will invite Fiona back to our webinar. And Fiona, over to you. Will you be able to tell us a little bit more about how people or how students will learn at the College of Legal Practice, please?
I will indeed. Thank you, Jolly. Thank you. Yes, so how you will learn, you will remember that I said you are provided with 24 study units throughout the course, which you will study independently, but obviously with clear direction and instructions at each stage. And Georgina did allude to the different activities that you will do, but there are 4 stages. Effectively, three or four. The first stage is developing your knowledge of the skill and refreshing your knowledge of the practice area in which the context is being studied. And you do that by carrying out suggested reading. So it is very directed. We suggest reading, and also by looking at the college's recorded demos on the learning platform on Canvas. So as I mentioned earlier, you will also have access to the college's SQE1 Prep, the Solicitor's Legal Knowledge course manuals, with which you can refresh your knowledge. And as Georgina has done, she's come from an LPC background, and we have found that those students who are coming from that background do need to do just that little bit more to refresh their knowledge, rather than if they're coming straight from the SQE1. So you are provided with those manuals with which you can refresh that knowledge. So that's stage 1, is the reading and the demos, so watching some videos. Stage 2 is then completing what we call to build activities. So they basically just further embed the skill and the knowledge. So that might be writing a letter, it might be practicing a piece of advocacy, it might be just drafting a report, for example. So it's just embedding the skill and that knowledge, again, just giving you further practice. And then stage 3 is self-practice, that you will self-mark using a rubric and exemplar that is provided. So this is the same for all 24 study units. You have a rubric at the self-practice stage, you have a rubric and exemplar, and you can self-mark your work against those rubrics and exemplars. And then stage 4 is what we call the practice and feedback activities. And stage 4 is in 16 of the study units, and you will here submit a piece of work, and this will be reviewed and marked by a subject matter expert supervisor. That's what we call them. So, and then you will receive individual written feedback on this following, and then the opportunity to receive generic oral feedback. So following your submission, you get detailed written feedback, and you also have generic oral feedback in a group session. So you do have that opportunity to get some feedback from a supervisor. So although you do work through each of the study units independently, and then complete the self-practice activity, and then also have the practice and feedback submissions on 16 of the study units, you also have the support, as I mentioned, of the college in the form of surgeries and discussion boards where you can ask questions. There are regular town hall meetings when you can ask questions and we will give you information. There are the practice and feedback activities, as I've already just mentioned, and there are the personal supervision meetings as well, which are one-to-one meetings. There are also some group sessions that where, again, you can ask questions and we can support you in any way that you need. So that's how you will learn in terms of the 24 study units. And I will show you in a second what that looks like on our learning platform on Canvas.
Great, thank you very much, Fiona. Before I will pass you to share your screen. On the screen here, you will be able to see a QR code, and that should lead you to our College of Legal Practice webpage, and where you will be able to access the demo. So I'll stop sharing my screen now, Fiona, so that you can share. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, can you see that screen?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So as I said, we do all of the learning and delivery through Canvas, and this is our learning platform. And this is what I'm just going to have a brief demo of now. Here you can see the Canvas homepage on. So this is the 20-week course that's just recently started, and at the bottom of this homepage is a list of study units. So I'll just scroll to the bottom of the homepage. Try not to do it too quickly or I'll make you feel a little bit ill. So you'll see these are all of the study units that you will complete. And there are also these revision tools as well. And that's where you will access all of the manuals, our SLK, so our SQE1 prep course manuals to improve on your general legal knowledge there. You can also see from this homepage this blue ribbon here that enables you to navigate the Canvas learning platform. And you will see from the courses section, this is where you will access this menu here. And from here, you can access the different areas, such as the discussions that you will have access to, the different modules. So I'll just click on there and you will see the modules. But there is a better way of navigating this, but this is just to show you, this is where you will access the supervisor Zoom rooms, you will access the skills guide, and here are the different modules. So this is where the different stages that I described, the 4 stages, these are the 4 stages, but I'll show you that in a second in terms of the best way to navigate those modules. I'm just going to move from this home page to the calendar, because the calendar is probably where you'll find out what you're doing on a weekly basis. So this shows you, so this course started on the 19th of February. And this tells you what you are doing week by week. Here I've got it set to a month in terms of the functionality, but you can change the functionality from the monthly view to a weekly view if you prefer. And what you can see on this page is a number of icons. Those indicated by a calendar icon here are the live sessions. So this one here on Monday, the 19th of February, was a town hall meeting with myself as module leader. Or there will be surgeries as well. So this Will's surgery one was on Thursday the 22nd. So those with the calendar icon are their events, their live sessions. You can also see here there are these icons, these pen and paper icons, and these are the practice and feedback activity submission deadlines for a particular day or week. So when you start your module in your first town hall meeting, so you can see this one was on the very first day. I will take you through this in a little bit more detail. Well, that's just to give you an idea of what the calendar looks like. Just before I leave the calendar, I'll just mention every Sunday there is a post that tells you what is happening in the week ahead. So we'll just look at that first week there. So you'll see here, the first week you will have all activities in, and we do use a lot of acronyms and abbreviations on the course. So you will get familiar with these acronyms, as I'm sure Georgina will tell you. But here, this was case and matter analysis in the context of criminal. So this is reminding you to complete all the activities, including your practice and feedback submission, by 5 p.m. on Thursday. And then there were 2 town hall meetings, a group personal tutor session, and a wills surgery as well. So that's where you will spend a lot of your time just finding out, right, what am I doing in any given week? And then what you will do when you find out, okay, I've got this week, I have a case and matter analysis in the context of criminal submission by Thursday. So then the best way to access each of those study units, so do you remember the 24 study units that I mentioned? The best way of accessing those is just, again, scrolling down to the bottom and then picking the correct one that you know you have to do in any given week. So I'm just going to go on to case and matter analysis in the context of criminal litigation here. So this is the best way to access the different study units. And as you will see, this takes me through this view here, and there is the introduction. So that's stage 1. Then stage 2 is these 2 build activities, and you will see after each build activity there is a feedback and self-assessment. And then there is the self-practice with very clear instructions. And then you have feedback and self-assessment after that as well. And then finally, stage 4 is the practice and feedback activity. So again, clear instructions how to submit, and then you can carry out your own self-assessment and feedback, comparing your own work to an exemplar and rubric that we give you. And every study unit looks exactly the same, apart from if it doesn't have a practice and feedback submission, then it will just take you up to the self-practice. But up to that stage, every study unit is exactly the same. So you soon get very familiar with what to expect on each study unit. I'll just, before I come out of Canvas, I'll just show you what this looks like. So this is stage 1 on case and matter analysis in the context of criminal, and you will see here it tells you that you need to do some introductory reading, do the bills and the self-practice, tells you what the learning objectives are. There are a couple of videos to watch, there's some introductory reading, and then all you do to get through to the next stage is to click through next there at the bottom right. And then so here you have to revise your legal knowledge of grievous bodily harm. It's pointing you to the criminal practice manual, suggesting some chapters to read, and you as well, you can complete these revision MCQs, which are from our SLK, our SQE1 prep course. So they just help you embed that legal knowledge. And then what you have to do then is download this email and then complete this report template. And all of the study units follow this similar process. And you can navigate through each of these, as I showed you just a little bit earlier, by just clicking next. But you can also, it's really easy to use, you can just click on these little icons here. So if I wanted to go straight through to the self-practice, I could click on there and it will take me through to the self-practice. And so this is very, very similar to what you will get in the final assessment and also in SQE2. So what SQE2 will give you, it will give you an email to access, or a memo with instructions on, and a request to fill out a report or write a letter or draft a document, and you will then draft that document and submit it. So it will give you a real experience, and again, if you do it timed, which is what we recommend you do, it will replicate as much as it can what to expect in SQE2. So that's the demo. Shall I stop sharing my screen now, Jolie?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Fiona. It's very, very clear, and it's actually very nice to see the actual learning platform and also know about the learning structure as well. Because when I was speaking to quite a few prospective students, they are always interested in knowing how they will be learning. Some of them, they might think that, oh, it's going to be like back in university, they will have lectures and then seminars, but it's very clear in the way how you describe people will learn here at the college. And I think it's a really good way in like helping them to build their skills for the SQE2. Of course, most of the SQE2 is about like applying their skills. So thank you very much for showing us our platform, the platform. And we do have a question from a participant here. And Stefania, she was asking, when you get feedback, do you receive comments or just an example of a model answer?
Well, you will get both. So you get really detailed written comments on your own submission, and you will also have the opportunity to access the exemplar, so a model answer, together with suggestions on what needs to go into there, compared to the assessment specification, which is the assessment specification which the SQE2 uses as well.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. So I'm gonna share my screen again so that we can continue with our slides. Just 1 second. Okay, and I'm gonna move forward. And Fiona, it'll be great if you can give us more insight in terms of what study mode will be right for each person.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, obviously Georgina mentioned earlier that she completed the SLS, the full-time SLS over a period of 10 weeks, and she was doing, I can't remember, you said 30 odd hours a week, I think you said, didn't you, Georgina? And that's what we would suggest. So whichever one is better for you, or can you just go back? Thanks, Jolly. Whichever study mode is right for you really depends on how much time you have. Many of you will be working, and it's really thinking about how much time you can spare in your week to devote to your studies, because as Georgina quite rightly mentioned, it is an intense course because it's preparing you to be a solicitor. So it really does, it's a hard decision to make, to decide which length of course to go for. So you really need to think about how much time do you have to devote to your studies, because the 10-week course we do suggest that the learning time per week is around 30 to 35 hours. So if you are going to take the full-time course, it's really most appropriate for either if you are a full-time student, you don't have anything else going on, or you're working part-time. But even then, it's very demanding. So if you need to be able to devote quite a few hours to your studies. On the full-time course, you will have 1 surgery per week on average, and a town hall meeting most weeks as well, that pass on various different bits of information every time. You will also have 1 to 3 skills practices with feedback every week. So it really does condense all of those study units, because obviously you're doing 24 study units over 10 weeks. So you can have, sometimes 3, sometimes 1, but most weeks you've got 2 to 3 skills practices. And then in terms of personal supervision sessions, you will have a 1-to-1 or a small group supervisor session, once every 2 weeks on average. Then there are the 2 part-time courses. There's a 20-week course and a 40-week course. So these are more appropriate for you, and they're better if you are working alongside your studies. The 40-week is better if you have a high level of commitments, because obviously a lot of you won't just be working, you might have families, you might have caring commitments as well. So it's thinking about how much time do you have to devote to your studies. The 20-week course, we suggest the learning time is 15 to 20 hours per week. The 40-week, we suggest 8 hours per week. So again, it's still quite a lot of hours that we suggest in terms of the time that you have to devote to keep on top of it all. But the 40-week is better if you do have a high level of commitments. On the 20-week course, the surgery, so everything is just spread out on the 20-week and 40-week. So you'll have a surgery every 2 weeks on the 20-week, or every 4 weeks on the 40 week, and then a town hall every few weeks on the 20 week, and then every 6 to 8 weeks. So it just spreads everything out. You get exactly the same in terms of, excuse me, the materials, exactly the same in terms of surgeries and town hall meetings. It's just spread out over a longer period of time. And then the beauty of the 40-week course is that there is one skills practice. So basically a study unit that's spread over 2 weeks. So rather than the 1 week on the 20-week course, you'd normally have one a week, and it just increases to 2 right at the very end, because again, you are doing 24 study units over that 20-week period. And then just finally on the 20-week course, you'll have a personal supervision session on average once every 4 weeks. And then on the 40-week course, it will be once every 8 weeks. So again, you get exactly the same. It's just spread over a longer period of time. So you just need to think about how much time can I devote to my studies. It is intense. I know we keep saying that, but it is an intense course. And especially if you're coming from the LPC, you do need to build in that extra time as well, just to top up the legal knowledge, because it is applied in a slightly different way than it was on the LPC.
Great. Thank you very much, Fiona, to talking about the differences or the kind of time commitment that people will need to contribute for our 10 weeks, 20 weeks, and 40 weeks courses. So moving forward, I'm going to invite Georgina back to our discussion. So it will be really great if we can have a quick discussion in terms of some of the frequently asked questions that we normally had from potential students. So first of all, of course, we do mention that for the SQE2, student will still need to have the SQE1 knowledge. So Fiona and Georgina, will you two be able to exactly tell a little bit more about how SQE2 is actually related to SQE1, if that's okay?
Yeah, do you want me to start off, Georgina? And then, yeah, because obviously you come from the LPC sort of background. So, but Georgina, you will have used those SLK materials. So the SLK or our SQE1 prep course, it's much more laser focused on specific legal concepts. And then what the SQE2 does, it puts those legal concepts into real client scenarios. So it's much more about the application. So it's drilling down into specific client scenarios, but it's drawing on your knowledge. So again, if you're coming from an LPC background, you do need to spend building time to build up that knowledge, but it's putting it into the context and applying it to real life scenarios.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's linked because a lot of the knowledge you've learned in your SQE1, you need to know for the SQE2 to be able to apply it. Just as I said before, I rewrote it in a way that was for a client's perspective, because when you're writing a letter, it potentially could be to a client and you need to write it in lay terms instead of in legal jargon, like you would learn it from the textbooks. So that's yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, Fiona and Georgina. And yeah, I think for quite a lot of students, especially if they are from an LPC route or if they kind of forgot quite a lot from the SQE1, they really wanted to see what would be the best way to actually go through the SQE1 material. So thank you very much for sharing that, Georgina and Fiona. And then the next question, maybe Fiona will be able to give us more information. So do you have to actually pass all SQE exams in order to actually pass SQE2. Oh, and also, Georgina, you've passed SQE2, so maybe you'll be able to give us more insight as well. So, Fiona, do you want to start first?
Yes, you do. So yes, you do have to pass all the exams to pass SQE2. So when you're coming to the SQE2 assessment stations, you do have to pass each one. And if you do fail one of the assessment stations, you have to take them all again. So it's yes, it is quite onerous. But once you've got, as I said, this is why we prepare you and we do focus in on what you can expect in those assessments, because there is so much at stake in terms of, you don't want to have to retake any of all of the assessment stations if you just fail one. So yeah, you do have to pass them all.
Great, thank you. And Georgina, I think you mentioned earlier that you got 84% on your SQE2, if I remember it right. So well done on that. So did you find one particular station very difficult, challenging, and how do you actually like prepare yourself mentally in all those stations?
Yes, so obviously each station is very different because the skills are so different and the knowledge is different between the knowledge topics. I broke them down and I grouped each skill together because the skills points are the same for, or almost the same, I think they are the same for every knowledge practice area. So I grouped them into the skills and learnt the skills as a separate point. As I said before, I revise the script and revise key points to always meet those skill points, because you can know the knowledge, but regurgitating your knowledge is not meeting the skill point, and you could still fail the assessment by not getting the skill points in. So by learning key pointers, for example, how to structure the research as an example, it will really hone your skills and get those, even those basic skill marks in any exam, even if you don't have too much knowledge because you don't quite understand what they're asking, or that's one area you completely didn't realize it was part of the SQE2 materials. So yeah, I think just take the skills all together and try and revise what is the key points from the SRA, what's the word, the exam content, what they mark you on. Just really try and know how to get each mark and get a tick in that box for the examiner who's going to examine it on the day.
Great, thank you very much, Georgina, and also Fiona. And of course, some of the participants or people who joined our webinar today, they have taken SQE1 or they're preparing to take the SQE1 and then the SQE2. Fiona, do you mind me asking how intense or how different is the SQE2 compared to SQE1 when it comes to studying? Will you be able to give us more insight on that?
Yes, they're very different because SQE1 is you have to learn a very broad area of law and across all of those different 13 practice areas, and to be able to complete multiple choice questions. So, and they are absolutely laser focused on specific areas, and they're so difficult to answer in terms of the content. But the SQE2 is much more realistic in terms of what you will do as a solicitor. So in terms of real life client scenarios, and they are as close to real life as they can be. So yes, you do have to draw on your knowledge from SQE1, but it's much more broad in terms of applying it to specific client scenarios, and the assessment is different. So in terms of instead of completing MCQs, you're writing a letter or you're drafting a document. These are the skills that you will have to use when you become a solicitor. It's things that you will do on a daily basis, or conducting a piece of advocacy, or interviewing a client. So it's preparing you for legal practice.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Fiona. And one interesting question that we received from the registration is that what are the common mistakes students make in the assessment? Of course, we do have the practice and feedback session. What would you say will be the common mistakes that people always make?
I think the skills are normally really high, because once you've practiced and you know how to write a letter, the skills are usually really, really good. It's the application of the knowledge, which is entirely to be expected, because you need to know so much across all these different practice areas. So it's usually in the application of the knowledge. It's because obviously these assessments are closed book, so it's being able to recall, and that the system that Georgina used in writing and rewriting in these client scenarios, it really is just about embedding all that knowledge and being able to recall the knowledge in whatever way you can, by listening to it when in a car, brilliant, or rewriting it, whatever works for you. But yeah, it's that recollection of the knowledge, which is where most students just fall down a little bit. But all it is, it's just repeating, going over doing all the practices, doing all the activities, and then it will. I do tell students all the way through, trust the process, keep consistent, and then at the end of the day, that knowledge, you will be able to recall it, even though it doesn't feel like you will be able to recall it.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. And yeah, Georgina, when you are doing or preparing for the SQE2, what would you say will be the most challenging bit? What do you think is the difficulties that you find while you're preparing for the exam?
I think the difficulty is not being in the right mindset, because you get snowed under by all of the work and you start panicking that you're not good enough because you didn't quite realize how much skills and knowledge there was, and it's just to remain focused. And if you think of the end goal and that dedication that you've already worked to for doing your degree, SQE1 or the LPC, maybe even getting a job already in the legal field, you've already come so far. So just remain focused on that end goal. It is definitely key to focusing on the work and to getting it done. But also another thing to note further there is read the question very carefully before you start writing in the exam. The SRA like to include red herrings, which the college do help you with by including them, but don't get focused on a red herring if you really don't think it's meant to be that. It probably isn't. I know that happened in the SQE2 exam, and I was thinking about it over and over again, but in the end I decided it was probably a red herring, and it very likely was. Obviously I will never know for sure, but just read the question, and if something doesn't sit right or doesn't seem to fit into the rest of it, it's probably just a red herring that they're trying to throw you off to put you off guard and stick with your initial gut feeling for it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Georgina. Of course, I'm aware of the time, but before we finish this discussion session, will you two be able to give people one final advice on anyone who is trying or planning to prepare for the SQE2 assessment?
I think for me, it's what I've already said. I think it would be, and it builds on what Georgina's just said. It would be trust the process and have that focus. Just try not to panic, because you can be overwhelmed with the amount of information. And it's really about trusting that if you follow that consistent course of study, you do it regularly, you keep up that consistent approach, you will be successful in the end. So it's trusting in that process.
Brilliant. Thank you, Fiona. And how about you, Georgina?
Yeah, that's a really good one, Fiona. I would probably say another one is support. Let the people around you know that you're doing this course, and use them as support when you can. Let your manager at work or your colleagues at work know, so they can give you that half an hour to attend the town hall, for example, if you work on that day. Tell your family and friends so they don't keep inviting you out to go and meet up with them when you know you can't, because if they don't ask you, then you won't feel bad for saying no. And also use their support to help you revise. Let them ask you questions rather than you keep reading it. Read out a piece of advocacy that you prepare from the materials given by the college to them, so they can address your speed and your motion, how you're talking it. Same with the interviewing. Ask them to let you interview them. That is all the support you can take from families, colleagues, friends, and that's really key in getting you through the course and getting you through the exam. So yeah, I think the support is a really good one.
That's brilliant. That's such a good idea. Using your like utilizing their help, their support, and help you practice. That's really good suggestion. Thank you very much, both Gina and also Fiona. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to quickly share my screen again, and I will just share my screen quickly. 1 second. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to, of course, provide a very quick summary and recap of the top tips and also all the good advices and suggestions said by Fiona and also Georgina in preparing and also passing the SQE. Of course, from what Georgina was saying, is really good to make sure that you are organized. If you are working as well, try to plan your study into your work week as well. And it's very important to make sure that you can find a way that will work for you. So perhaps break down your studies into bite-sized chunks. And we also strongly advise you to attend your practice assessment to learn, receive feedback even if you haven't actually prepared for them. And also don't forget the legal knowledge as well. And of course, lean on the support from your tutors, from your supervisor, from your families and friends. And ultimately be kind to yourself and make sure that you take care of yourself as well. So if you wanted to learn more about the top tips and also some secrets to SQE success, feel free to scan the QR code on the screen here. So we prepare this for anyone who would like to learn more about how to actually succeed and also pass the SQE. So the guide was actually from students who took the exam and also from our academic team members who have taught the prep module. So they will be providing a lot of great tips in helping you pass the SQE as well. So feel free to scan the QR code on the screen. And of course, another recap on our approach. Of course, Fiona has covered quite a lot in terms of, for example, flexible learning. We do have full-time and also part-time options, our town hall meetings, surgeries, and also the skills practice and feedback session. And one thing I would like to really highlight, of course, is the SQE Ready Review. I wanted to make sure that you know about this and wanted to make sure that advices will be provided on the likelihood for you in passing the SQE assessment based on your performance. And you will also be given hard copy materials to help with your learning as well. And another thing to highlight is about our reasonable adjustment, and we wanted to make sure that everyone understand that we are fully committed to ensuring every student has access to fair learning and also assessment, and they will actually feel confident in their ability to succeed in their study. Therefore, we aim to offer personalized support tutored to the need of each student. So if reasonable adjustments is something that you will need, please reach out to us as soon as possible, as early as possible as well, even before you are a student. Discuss with us about any concerns or any considerations that you may wish to address so that we can accommodate your needs as best as we can and as soon as we can. And lastly, I just wanted to also let you guys know that we have received quite a lot of positive feedback from our students so far about our approach in helping them to prepare for the SQE2. To give you some statistic, for our SQE2 prep student who studied with us last year in 2023, 79% of students were likely to recommend the course to others, and also 79% of them were satisfied with their one-to-one and also personal supervisor on the course. So it's really, really rewarding for the college to actually see that students are highly satisfied about our courses. And we hope that our approach is going to help you in passing your SQE as well. Finally, I wanted to touch base on our funding opportunities. Of course, funding will be a big factor when deciding on a SQE preparation course, especially the cost of the assessment fee is quite high as well. So we highly recommend you to do your research when choosing an SQE prep providers. If you are looking to spread the cost, look for courses where interest-free installments options are available. And also, if you are working and you need to earn while you learn, choose the part-time options when possible and plan your learning into your work week. So, for example, as mentioned by Fiona, we do offer 40 weeks course option for the SQE2 preparation. So your second installment for, if you're choosing the 40 weeks one, your second installment, which is nearly half the cost of the whole preparation course, will not be required until you are halfway through the course. So this might be a good way for you to spread the cost as well. And also another suggestion is to explore different schemes and also scholarships to make sure that if you need to apply for any scholarship or scheme to help funding your study, look for opportunities out there. And finally, limit your course by planning ahead. So our advice will be to book your SQE assessment early when the booking window is open, so that you can look for your nearest centre to actually limit your transportation and also accommodation cost. And on the screen here, you will be able to see our upcoming start dates. So depending on, of course, your weekly commitment, you can choose part-time or full-time. And also you can decide by looking at the assessment date as well. So our start dates are actually aligned with the SQE assessment dates. So for example, if you would like to study full-time and you would like to sit your SQE2 exam in July this year, you can choose to start in April the 29th for the 10 weeks full-time course. More information will be available on our website, and you can scan the QR code on the screen, and it should lead you to our course calendar page. And lastly, of course, if you would like to have a further discussion with the team to talk about your journey, and also you would like to talk us to give you some advice, feel free to scan the QR code on the screen and book for a one-to-one Calendly appointment with the team. You can also join our LinkedIn SQE information group for any updates about the SQE or any future events or helpful updates about our college as well. And also you will be able to see our email and also phone number on the screen if you wish to contact us. Do we have any further questions about our course? Okay, of course, if any questions that come up, feel free to contact us. So thank you again for joining us today, Fiona, and also Georgina. It's really nice to hear your advice, your feedback, and also some suggestion and top tips in preparing and also passing the SQE2. And Georgina, congratulations in becoming a qualified solicitor. I wish you all the best in your future career. And thank you so much for joining us today again, both of you. And have a good evening, everyone. And I hope to see you guys again in our next webinar. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
See you.
You.
Bye.